Welcome back, guys, to Football Dynasties. I'm your host, Dell. Week 5 is in the books. We've got a Thursday night football game already. Week 6 starts tonight. We'll touch on that game at the end. Let's get this review going. Highest scoring week of the season so far. Yeah, we finally, for fantasy purposes at least, we finally got what we wanted. And that was a lot of points, a lot of yards. That Bengals-Ravens game was insane. Jamar Chase, 193 yards. That's crazy. That's kind of what we were hoping for, right? Because it's been so slow. But I'm starting to realize that with guys not playing preseason, you almost kind of want to take those first 4 weeks as an extended preseason, right? Because a lot of these guys really aren't playing a lot. And now that they've got the reps in, it's looking way better. Week 6 is trending. Our tight ends are finally trending up. But let's get into week 5. All right, guys, let's start off with the Bucs-Falcons game. It feels like it's been forever. 6 days ago, not too far out, but I mean, Kirk Cousins, 509 total yards. Well, no, not total yards, but 509 passing yards, sorry. London with a $154. Rashad White led that game in rushing with 72. All that Kirk Cousins, London, big game. That's awesome for them. Are we worried about Bijan yet? That is the question. Are we going to start panicking on this guy yet? I wouldn't just yet. He had over 80 total yards still. 3 receptions, 61 on the ground. We just got to give it time, okay? I'm more worried about Breece Hall, and we'll touch on that later. But we just got to give it time. I think Bijan and the Falcons with Kirk Cousins, the way he started the season, a little bit slow. He's now heating up. These are kind of the games that we were expecting from Kirk, which is high volume passing, and we're getting it. He's turned Darnell Mooney into a possible start every week. Our boy Kyle Pitts finally looked alive. 7 for 88. On the other side of the ball, Baker, solid game. 3 touchdowns, 180 on the air. But the three TDs for fantasy is amazing. Mike Evans, is he a first ballot Hall of Famer? He's looking like he's going to be on pace for another 1,000-yard season easily. His touchdowns, he had 2 this game, which is awesome to see. A lot of people were already kind of thinking Mike Evans was over the hill, and that was it. We started saying that last season, but we saw how last season turned out. This season is not changing. It's looking like he's just going to continue to keep doing what he's doing. Again, that game, 36-30, Atlanta won in overtime. Jets-Vikings. Vikings 23-17 in London. The start of that game was a little bit weird. Quick 3-and-outs, both teams. Sam Darnold looked really solid in that first half. The Jets offense just couldn't get going, right? They couldn't get anything moving. Rodgers starting to look kind of old, right? He's starting to look his age, I feel. He is 40. We know Brady did it to 45. But my man Brady eats avocado ice cream, and if that's any indication, I don't think any of us want to have avocado ice cream every day just to continue to play football. But that man loved football, and that is what he did. And our man Rodgers is on the other side with the ayahuasca, so I don't think he's taking care of his body as well as Brady did. There was a scene in there where he was just kind of crawling on his knees banged up, ankles banged up. The bright side for the Jets offense is that he targeted Garrett Wilson for 22 plays, which is insane. That's Malik Neighbors numbers, right? And Garrett Wilson finally got the game we've all been hoping for. It's just that going forward, that offense doesn't look that consistent to me. I'm really worried about Breece Hall. Is he injured? That's kind of all I can think of when you watch him run. He's not getting in between the tackles. He's not hitting the hole as hard as he normally would. Even in the receptions that he gets, he doesn't look like he has that first burst of speed. So I'm a little worried for Breece Hall. But going forward, he's still your start every week until something finally comes up in the injury report where we finally get a few answers. But I am very worried about Breece Hall. Next week they they're playing on Monday Night Football against the Bills. The Bills have the 30th ranked run defense, so maybe we finally get to see that Breece Hall game. They just fired Salah. They just changed their play caller. So maybe going forward, we all know how this works. When you get a new coach, you rally behind him, and I think that's what the Jets are looking for on Monday. If they win that game on Monday night, they will be in first place of the division, believe it or not. So maybe the Jets are on the up and up, but we got to see how Rodgers is going to look. Hopefully our boy Breece Hall picks it up. On the other side of the ball, the Vikings are now 5-0. Are they the real deal? So far, Brian Flores has put together some defensive games where they look unbeatable. They've only trailed, I believe, it was something weird, like 3.5 minutes in the season they've only trailed. And that's a crazy stat when you think about 5 games. They've only been trailing in 3.5 minutes in those 5 games. That's insane. The question, though, for me is how far can Sam Darnold take them? We haven't seen Sam Darnold really do a whole lot in the NFL, right? So that's a question mark on its own. He is playing great ball right now. So we'll see how they do going forward. Another high-scoring matchup, Colts-Jags. Jags ended up coming out with the win, 37-34. Trevor Lawrence finally looked pretty good. 28 for 34, 2 touchdowns. I was more impressed with their running game, though. Tank, man, on 13 carries, he had 100 yards. 2 touchdowns. He was definitely one of the waiver priorities this week. With ETN still nursing or, rehabbing that shoulder. He keeps coming up on the injury report with the shoulder still. We'll have to keep track on that. See how he is going forward. Next week they do play the Bears. And the Bears just gave up 98 yards to Chuba Hubbard this past weekend. So possibly looking at ETN and Tank to still have a decent day. The Bears have been shutting everyone down in that department throughout the year. But going into this game, the Jags are kind of on a little bit of a high. Maybe they continue. So we'll see. The Colts, on the other hand, Joe Flacco looks really, really solid. Looks like he should just be the guy playing quarterback for that team for now. Coach already came out and said that Anthony Richardson is his starter until, I don't know. But the way Joe Flacco's playing right now, it feels like he gives that team the best chance to win. The receivers sure do love him, especially with the accuracy. Josh Downs, as of late, has been a hot name coming up. Alec Pierce had another 100-plus yard game, but he did that on 3 catches, so I don't know how sustainable that would be. And Michael Pittman had a solid game, had a touchdown, 37 yards, 5 receptions, but he did just come up on the injury report. We'll have to keep an eye on that. He might be out. So we'll look into that and make sure. We'll keep you guys posted and updated on Saturday with our starting sits and injuries. So Colts-Jags, yeah. The Colts haven't beaten Jacksonville since 2014 in Jacksonville, which is pretty interesting. I didn't know that until a little bit later. Brian Thomas is another one of those in that game that went off. He is looking like another Justin Jefferson copy. I'm not saying he is Justin Jefferson. I'm saying his game looks a little bit more like him. He's got that size. We all know what Malik Nabers is doing with the Giants this season. He looks more like a Jamar Chase clone. and Brian Thomas is looking like a JJ clone. LSU is wide receiver U at the moment. We'll keep an eye on those guys. They got a couple of freshmen and sophomores, actually, LSU does, and we'll touch on that over the summer. Let's move on. Miami, New England. Not a whole lot. Miami 15-10. The only real bright spots were Jalen Wright and Raheem Mostert for Miami. Tua is still gone. The Patriots need a change, and we got it. Drake May will be starting this weekend as they host the Texans, which is going to be interesting because the Texans just did work to Josh Allen. That front four is nasty. So Drake May is not going to get the easiest of rookie debuts. That's going to be a game we'll be watching for sure. Miami, New England. Yeah, Miami 15-10. Nothing really there. The offenses on both teams, they just need sparks. So hopefully Tua will be back after the Dolphins bye week. That's going to definitely help out. I know that's Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. They're going to be ready to go if Tua's back. So moving on. Browns, Commanders. Before we touch on the Commanders, I just want to say, Deshaun Watson, I think it's time to go, buddy. He just doesn't look nowhere near the quarterback that he was when he was in Houston. It's slow. Holds onto the ball too long. I mean, they're leading the league in sacks, or getting sacked. And part of it is not necessarily, part of it is the offensive line, yes. But a big part of it is also Deshaun is not taking his checkdowns. He's really looking to push the ball down the field, but he can't do that right now. He can't get the ball past 15, 20 yards. He hasn't had a security blanket in Njoku since week 1. Maybe that's part of it. But if you just watch the games, I mean, there was an exchange between coach and QB there where I think the coach wanted to go for it looked like. And then Deshaun didn't hurry up with the play call. Huge mix-up on a 4th down. Deshaun's walking back to the sideline. The coach is saying, "What are you doing?" Read into it what you want. I think Stefanski at this point is kind of over it as well. But they're not going to make a change. They paid this man $230 million. They're going to keep him out there until something happens. Something good, something bad. But, yeah. Deshaun, time to go, buddy. Commanders, Jayden Daniels. Man, oh man, am I so mad at myself for not taking this guy. I had the first 5 picks in our rookie draft this year. And instead of taking both quarterbacks, I took Caleb. I've been talking Jayden Daniels up all year. I just figured with the weapons, Caleb was going to definitely have the hotter start. But Jayden Daniels, after 5 weeks, is my MVP at the moment. Yeah, I know. Some people are not going to agree with that. But the man's got the Commanders sitting there at 4-1. Had another 300-plus total yard game. He didn't even play in the 4th quarter. And the Browns defense was supposed to be this incredible defense after last season, right? Going into this year. And they completely dominated them. But Daniels, man, he's looking solid. Terry McLaurin is coming along. Brian Robinson has been great for them all year. Austin Eckler, God, I can't believe my Chargers let this guy go. He looks like the old Eckler. He finally came back from that injury, from the concussion, and he looks great. I really wish that we would have kept him, but we did not. I can't imagine what Eckler would have done behind that Harbaugh offensive line. But it is what it is. The Commanders got him, and the Commanders look good, man. I can't wait for week 8. Sneak preview, sneak ahead, kind of skipping a week here, but in week 8 we're going to get the Bears and the Commanders. That's going to be a great game to watch. I'm not even sure if it's on it's a primetime game or not. Is it a primetime game? Man, I should have wrote this down. I can't believe I didn't write this down. Nope, not a primetime game. Regular 10 a.m. kickoff in Washington. But that is going to be one of the games that we are definitely going to be watching. Hands down. Yeah, let's move on. Bills Texans. Texans got that win 23-20. It looked like the Texans were going to pretty much just take that game over. They were up 14-3. They were driving. Then the Bills stopped them on that fourth down on like their 18. That kind of changed the game around a little bit. But one of the biggest takeaways for me in this game is Josh Allen. Now, the Texans front four, if you haven't watched the Texans game this year, just go back, look at a few highlights. The Texans front four, man, they are getting to the quarterback, okay? They got Josh Allen off his spot pretty much every other play. I mean, this dude completed 9 passes. He couldn't hit an open receiver because he was on his back foot. He was having to roll out a lot. The Texans secondary did such a good job holding Keon and the boys. And Josh Allen just looked like, oh man, he got hit in the game at the end there. And that protocol, concussion protocol, whatever they're calling it, they call it a chest injury, is what I saw in the report. I just saw that dude's head bounce off that turf. So, chest injury, yeah, I doubt that. But that wasn't the worst of his problems. He was way off the line. He just couldn't get anything rolling. James Cook was about the only thing that the Bills can get going. There was a little Keon Coleman sighting there. Keon had that nice little 49-yard breakaway, which was 50% of Josh Allen's yards for the day on one play. So moving forward, they are playing the Jets. Again, that Jets defense is solid. They might not have sauce. So I don't know how I feel about the Bills going up against the Jets just yet. The Texans, though, in this game, oh man, they lost Nico Collins. It started off with day-to-day, week-to-week, and now the boy's on IR. If you have Stephon Diggs or if you have Tank, you're going to ride those guys for the next 4 weeks for sure. Keep starting them. Next week they play New England. I think that in Foxborough, the Texans will go in and they will dominate the Patriots with a rookie QB. The Texans, I feel like, could have won this game a lot easier than the 23-20 mark that we see. Are the Texans defense a top 5? No, they're not a top 5. I'm just asking the question. But they look really, really solid. Let's touch on the Panthers-Bears game real quick. Caleb finally looked really, really solid. That dude's been improving from game to game. It is the Panthers, so we're not going to get too excited. I'm excited because he's on my fantasy team, and he is basically my new franchise going forward because I have Herbert, and my man is not looking like he's going to do anything this season fantasy-wise. But watching Caleb this past week, getting that connection with DJ Moore was finally awesome to see. Hopefully this momentum can carry forward. They are playing in London against the Jaguars. The Jaguars have a home game. And hopefully they can keep this rolling. I think Caleb's going to have another great game. Like I said, he's been improving from game to game. The biggest thing I could take away from that game was that Keenan is still a solid football player, man. That guy's getting out there. He's doing his thing. He's putting in the block. He's putting in the work. He's running the routes. He looks great. He's just getting stung by the rookie QB not getting through his reads and all of that. Really hope for Keenan's sake that he would stick around maybe one more season there, but I doubt it. He will be a free agent, and I'm sure there's going to be some teams that are going to need a number one, and the Bears drafting Rome Odunze really doesn't help his case there. But again, Keenan Allen, he looks great. He's running hard for his team. He doesn't have the numbers to show for it, but I just give it a chance. Hold on to him for one more week. Let's see what they do against the Jags, and if it doesn't work out, then it might be time to just call it a day. The afternoon games on Sunday were great. We had the Cardinals upset the 49ers. Marvin Harrison didn't look so good, so hot, didn't play well. I don't know what to say about it, man. Week 2 and week 3, we got spoiled, thinking Kyler was about to feed this dude for the rest of the year, and he didn't anymore. He's trying, though. He's getting it to him. He's averaging 7-8 targets a game. Just couldn't get anything rolling. If anything, Michael Wilson is like the number one option, just chemistry-wise by the looks of it. Really happy that the Cardinals got the dub, though. The Giants put up 29 points against the Seahawks. No Malik Neighbors. It's crazy that the Giants put up that many points without Malik. Darius Slayton had a great game, 122 receiving. Tyrone Tracy, 129 on the ground. The Seahawks, that's back-to-back weeks, man, where they're giving up a lot of yards and a lot of points. It's not going to get any easier for them. Next week, or not next week, but this Thursday already, they're playing against the 49ers. So I think the Niners are probably going to put up 30 points on them. If the Giants can put up 29, I'm pretty sure the Niners can put up 29, but I think they're going to put up a little bit more. For fantasy purposes, though, Geno still throwing over 250. Looking good. JSN is got the touchdown in there. Tyler Lockett, though, huh? How about Tyler Lockett? He's quietly been averaging 9.5 fantasy points, and that's pretty solid for a third, right? And DK didn't have a touchdown, but he had 4 for 55. Kenneth Walker got slowed down there a little bit compared to last week's game. So going forward, we'll see how that Walker-Charbonnet duo does in the backfield. I was shocked to see them lose 29-20. But, hey, every Sunday is different. The last game I want to touch on before we get going, Baltimore-Cincinnati. What a heartbreak for the Bengals to lose there at the end, just on the hold. If it wasn't for their record, I think Old Smoking Joe would be the MVP frontrunner, right? Even if they were just 3-2, I think he'd be the frontrunner. All 4 of their losses have been by 6 points or less. As a Chargers fan, I know how that feels, and that sucks. But it's football, and that's how it goes. Joe Burrow can't play any more perfect than he did. Jamar Chase, monster game. Buck 93, 2 TDs. D. Higgins, 83 yards, 2 TDs. I mean, their offense was rolling. To take the ball away from Joe Burrow in overtime, the game that he was having, that is, I mean, come on, coach. You just can't do that to him. The man played near a perfect game, and you took it out of his hands. And yes, the kicker, Money McPherson, is his nickname. But I like my chances of gaining another 10 to 15 yards, making it a 40-yard field goal as opposed to a 55-yard field goal. You know, I mean, nowadays it looks like kickers can make 60-yard field goals like it's nothing. It's just routine for them. But the way they lost that game, I think it's going to fall down to coaching on that one. On the other side of the ball, though, Lamar Jackson, man, oh man, 4 TDs, 348 in the air, added another 55 on the ground. This man is probably, numbers-wise, he's got to be the best QB for this season thus far, especially for fantasy. We all know Mahomes is probably the best quarterback in the league still, but Lamar Jackson, man, he's not too far behind. Derrick Henry and Lamar, that duo is going to be insane. What do? Do you put 8 in the box? Do you bring 9 in the box to stop Henry? Doesn't matter. It looks like Lamar is just going to continue to dissect you over the air. 26 for 42. He's still getting it, man. I mean, Zay Flowers finally had a good solid game. 7 catches, buck 11. It's the receiving core for the Ravens, for them to put up 41 points with that receiving core, it's crazy. Obviously, Cincinnati's got more problems than just they're older. You shouldn't be giving up that many points. When you score 38, you should win that game every time. But Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, they just find ways to get it done. Both tight ends, Collar and Likely, had the touchdowns. Mark Andrews, 4 for 55, slightly coming up. I'm still starting Andrews over Likely going forward. I know, I get it. But if you look at the snap percentage, Andrews is still on the field a little bit more than likely. And if Mark Andrews wasn't such a good pass or run blocker and pass blocker, he might be getting more catches. So as a football player, Mark Andrews is still solid as they come. So yeah, Baltimore 41, Bengals 38. All right, guys, Thursday night football, San Francisco in Seattle. I look for San Francisco to run the crap out of the ball tonight, and I think I see them winning 31-21. Seattle, I think they're going to try to run the ball today, especially the way that Arizona looked against the Niners. Looks like they were just more efficient running the ball against them. So I look for Seattle, Kenneth Walker, Charbonnet to probably have the big fantasy points games today. Brock Purdy, I think, is going to throw it all over the yard. We finally need to see that happen. I think Ayuk, Debo, Kittle, they're going to have themselves a good game tonight. So let's look for that. 31-21, we're going to take the 49ers. Once again, guys, thank you for listening. If you are following us on YouTube, please like, subscribe, share the videos. Comments, feedback, more than welcome. Please, anything we can to make this podcast better. I will see you guys on Saturday for start and sit injuries. Catch you guys later.